You're listening to the WBT Podcast with Michael Lodge. Listen to all of our podcasts at www.wbtpod.com. Stay informed. Let's get started.
This is brought to you by Lodge & Co., a business and tax advisory firm where your success is our goal. Call us today toll-free at 888-681-1518 or visit us at www.lodge-co.com and learn more about what we can do for you. Lodge & Co., your source for sound business and tax services.
And welcome to the WBT. This is Michael Lodge. I'm glad that you've joined me. Every single Tuesday, I do what is called Political Tuesday. And the reason why I do it is because politics affects business. It affects our personal lives. When decisions are made in Congress or in the Senate and signed by the President into law, these laws affect you and they affect me. So we always have to be talking about politics. Now, you and I probably may not agree on everything, but we have to talk about it because when it affects our taxes, it affects our interest rates, it affects whatever part of business. It means the government has stepped one too close to affecting our lives and our personal homes and families. So we have to be very careful. We have to be very careful and listen very carefully to what's going on and pay attention. If there's anything that I've stressed on my Political Tuesdays is that you need to get involved. More and more, it's vital that you get involved. Talk to your senators, talk to your congressmen, write the White House if you need to, but get involved. Get involved in your communities. The communities are where you can make the biggest difference. So I was thinking the other day, I was sitting in this Chamber of Commerce meeting. It was the annual meeting that they always hold. And it was in Orlando, Florida. And I was listening to a speaker who was a general at the Pentagon. And what his duties were was to prepare servicemen on their physical fitness, to get them into shape, to get them into what they needed to be in order to fight a war at any given moment or to help people. But what the problem is that the individuals who were applying for military service were so physically out of shape because they have spent their lives self-glued to internet sites and Game Boys and game toys and everything else. And they failed their physical fitness portion of getting into the military. And it wasn't just a few, it was thousands and thousands and thousands of young people who wanted to serve but can't serve because they don't have the physical ability to serve. They have spent too long just sitting there basically doing nothing with their bodies. So they had to, excuse me, they had to take these men and women and send them back home and tell them, get into shape and then come back and reapply. But right now you're not able to serve because you're physically unfit. I would hate for anybody to tell me that I'm unfit in anything. That means I would work harder to get into where I needed to be. There's a study that came out this last week which said 43% of millennials quit their job after 2 years. And the reason they gave for quitting was because they thought their job was too hard. Now, if anybody told me that they thought their job was too hard, I would say, come on, let's take a walk. And I'd walk them straight out the door because they're unfit to work in that company. Too hard means that you're giving up. Just the words themselves say, this is too hard. is a weak response and a very stupid reason for leaving your job. Now, I just recently had an employee leave their job for that specific reason. They said the job was too hard. I was doing too much. When I started out my company in 1984, now that's a long time ago. Some of you were not even born in 1984. I started my firm out as a go-to person to get specific jobs that no one else could do and to get them done. I never complained about how hard it was, and sometimes I would spend hours. I remember even sleeping under my desk just in order to get this project done. But I never said it was too hard. You don't ever quit something just because you think it's too hard. You take on the challenge and you get it done. It's a weak response when you say it's too hard. But this is the issue. You have people who are not fit to serve the military because they are physically out of shape. And we have people who are unable to serve a company because they are socially unfit, mentally unfit to do their jobs. They give up after 2 years. Now, that's 43%. There are some individuals out there, and I've met them, and they're really great people, and I have them working for my company, who will bend over backwards to do a job that they sometimes don't even know anything about. But they learn, they put it together, and they get it done. This can-do attitude has been lost along the way. Because with video games, all it is a routine. And they get stuck in that routine where they think everything's going to be taken care of them because they've got cheats inside their game. So they're really not thinking for themselves. They're thinking mechanically. Not even mechanic. That's even the wrong word. They're thinking game-wise, and they're not thinking common sense-wise. So we have let these individuals grow up thinking that they're owed something just because they are a millennial. And that's not how the world works. When I was in high school, I had to pay for my own schooling. It was a private school, but I had to pay it for myself. My parents didn't have enough money to pay for it, but they wanted me to go to a private Christian high school. And it was a boarding academy. It was way out in Spangle, Washington. And I stayed in the men's dorm. But in order to go to that school, I had to work. So for 4 hours in the morning, I would work in a furniture factory, putting springs in davenos and sofas. I don't think they use the word daveno anymore, do they? So I just aged myself. But I spent 4 hours doing that a day, and then I would go to school the other half of the day. In those 4 years, I don't ever remember complaining about the job because I knew I had to do it because I had to pay for my schooling. I had to work in order to pay for my lodging, for my food, for my books, for my school. And I did it for 4 years, working in a furniture factory. But I never complained. Now, sometimes I complained about the bosses because some of those were really stupid. You know how kids think. We don't think that these people know what they're doing. But we did the job, and we had fun doing the job. And we were physically fit because we had this routine that we had to lift these big old sofas onto a table, then pull back on the springs that was so tight, and sometimes the latch that you hooked the spring onto would come off because the nails were weak. They just came off and they would hit you right in the knuckles. It was very painful. But I did my job and I paid for my schooling, and when I walked out of that school, I owed nothing. When I walked out of college, I owed nothing. I worked and I did whatever I could to pay for that schooling, but I never complained about it because I knew that was my responsibility. The problem is that people don't know what their responsibilities are anymore, and they blame it on somebody else that they didn't fulfill their responsibility to you. You are responsible to take care of your food, to take care of your family, to take care of your housing, to take care of your medical, to take care of your spiritual needs. That is up to you. It's not up to the government. It's not up to the community. It's up to you personally. It's up to you to become fit, financially fit, educationally fit, physically fit, spiritually fit, in order for you to make a difference in your community, in your family, in the country that you live in. If you fail, it's no one else's fault except you. We have to be fit. That's why I always, before I perform a wedding, I always sit down with the couple 2 weeks ahead of time. Sometimes even 6 months ahead of time. And we find out whether or not if they are financially compatible to each other. And we pull their credit and we look at their financial scores and we look at how much debt each one has. And do you get married? Then we make the decision, do you get married now? Or do you focus on the debt before you get married? Because once you get that debt into a marriage, the stress is unbearable to those families. So why not clean house and become financially fit before you enter into the I do part of marriage? So we have to become better people. We have to become people who are thinking about our spiritual fitness, our financial fitness, how fit we are in our jobs, and that we are committed to doing those jobs. How committed are we in our families to make them better families and to show these children that you're raising what responsibility is all about, in giving them that same responsibilities, the same responsibility as I had as a high school person to pay for my own education. So I want you to think on this Political Tuesday, I want you to really think hard. How fit are you? How fit are you? Are you the person that's going to quit after 2 years? If you are, stop right now, because you know you're not going to go very far in life because you give up. So you have to determine whether or not if you are spiritually fit, financially fit, physically fit, mentally fit, before you move on to that next step. Don't be like the military. At some point in time, somebody's going to come up to you and say, you know what? We no longer need your services because you're not fit for this job. It's a tough thing to think about when people say that you're unfit. that you're not a strong American, that you're not putting the priorities of life in front of your own personal selfish needs. It's time to rethink how we look at life. We can no longer be an unfit nation. We have to be better than that. You can't be that 43% of millennials who say, it's too hard. I can't do it. It's too hard. And you give up. And you look for something easier. That's not life. You have to hit life straight on. And keep moving forward. Now, sometimes you're going to fall, but you got to keep falling forward. This is Mike Lodge for the WBT. Think about it. How unfit are you? If you have any questions, send me an email at mlodge@lodge-co.com. And I'll try and answer any email that I get. Or I will try and find the answer for you someplace. But I will respond. Again, this is Mike Lodge for the WBT. We'll talk with you very soon.
This is brought to you by Lodge & Co., a business and tax advisory firm where your success is our goal. Call us today toll-free at 888-681-1518 or visit us at www.lodge-co.com and learn more about what we can do for you. Lodge & Co., your source for sound business and tax services.
Thank you for listening to the WBT with Michael Lodge. Join us again tomorrow as we explore more about business and taxes. Follow us on iHeartRadio and go to our podcast website at www.wbtpod.com and listen to all of our podcasts and read our blogs.